Well, hello, good morning. Uh, Nice to see everybody. Welcome to Gravity, a place to keep you grounded in the scriptures. Today we get to talk to a really good friend of mine. This was announced last Monday. I hope you guys see this and take what you hear with you, because I think you're going to get a lot of good stuff from Shawn Tyler, who's going to be on here in a moment. I just got off the phone, and he's probably scrambling for the phone for Facebook to get on here. But we're going to talk about a myriad of things, and it is interview style. So if anybody hops on, please feel free. If you have any questions, you can certainly ask any questions of Shawn Tyler or myself. Another thing to keep in mind is we will be breaking up the devotional from this video. There's my man Shawn, and so I'm going to wave at him. Woo, you've been waved at. And I'm going to bring him on camera and add him. And he should be here momentarily. Hey, what's up, Shawn? How are you doing?
I'm doing great, man. How are you?
Man, I'm doing good. It's good to have you on Gravity this morning. Welcome. Hey, and
Thank you.
let me see your cranium for a moment.
Oh yeah, I got it. I got it.
You got...
I was telling Nathan earlier I got both hairs cut this morning. So.
And she did a great job. And did it take the full hour?
No, it didn't take a full hour. She gave mercy. It only took 30 minutes.
It only took 30 minutes. That's pretty good. They must have been very long hairs.
Well, no, it's the fact that mine are so excited to just stay there. They're afraid of leaving. So every time you bring a razor close, they hunch down, and don't want to get cut. So.
They're very conscious.
Yeah, so you can run over it and it's still there. You think, like, how did I miss that? But
it's kind of like when we had the lawnmower and you're pushing the lawnmower and you have those stray grass still up there. You know, your blade is needing to be replaced, and so maybe you're having that problem if that ever happens.
I am. I was like, how did that happen? You know.
Well, I want to let everybody know that we will divide up the lesson itself from the actual interview. That way there's two separate videos and you don't have to go searching for either, and you can watch them at your own leisure if you want. But this is my man Shawn Tyler, and he's a good friend of mine. I got to know him very well because a couple years ago we had Sinago at our a year ago we had Sinago, but a couple of years ago we had a gospel meeting at our church, and you came and you spoke at that gospel meeting. And you did an outstanding job. You remember that? And
I do.
And he came and he stayed at our house. And my children, I don't think the kids were in the house. You and Linda came and stayed in the house. And you taught my son about those dominoes. And y'all sat there watching those domino videos where they put like 1 million dominoes up and make them fall down. And it was pretty awesome. And so I know my kids love you. And they love both you and Linda.
I still watch those videos. In fact, I saw an article recently. A guy spent 2 weeks putting up a whole bunch of dominoes, and then accidentally he got hit about halfway through it. And they still set 3 records with it, but they didn't break the world record.
Oh my goodness! Well, the kids love you, and he helped us out with the gospel meeting we had a couple of years ago. Shawn's got such a great resume. Of things that he's done for the kingdom of God, and one of the biggest ones I think is of course your mission work that you're a part of, but even bigger than that, and that spans decades, even bigger than that, I think the greatest work that has been happening in your life is what you have with your wife Linda. That's what I would like to say, and I would like you first to tell us how you met Linda, because that really does play a part in your story of mission and your story of ministry. Would you go ahead and let us know?
Sure, I'd be glad to. And what I want to tell you right off the bat is in November we will be celebrating 40 years of marriage.
Whoa!
Yeah, that's amazing because I only claim to be 29, and so The problem is that the kind of math that I do, I could probably get a job working for the U.S. government budget office.
Oh, no.
What I can say is that Linda and I actually met the first day of 10th grade in high school in the United States, and we both had Mrs. Bodkin's English class, which I didn't like, and I sat in the back. But I noticed Linda the first day. I was standing outside the door as the students were coming in, and I saw this cute little girl come in, a little chocolate brown skirt and hair parted down the middle and fluffed off to the side, which was kind of the style back in those days. And I thought to myself, wow, what a cute girl, what legs, and I couldn't tell that she really noticed me. Now her story is that she noticed me and said there was a good-looking guy in the class, and I tell people that guy moved away and she started being interested in me. But in the process of it, we talked a lot. She was the class, teacher's pet type thing. So anytime that there was a question, she was up in the front. Oh, pick me, and I was in the back like, don't pick me, don't pick me. Yeah. Oh, yeah, really. And so she would hand out the papers, and every time she would pass in front of my desk all the time. She was always passing and let me know that she was there. And we didn't finally have a date until the last day of the 10th grade class. But one of the things that really struck me is at that time I wasn't really going to church.
Mm-hmm.
My family historically came up in the Methodist church.
Mm-hmm.
And so somewhere around 10, 12 years of age, I stopped going to church with them. And so I was just there. I was at home. And so I called Linda up one night and I said, hey, why don't you be interested in going out on a date with me to the movies? She said, I can't. I would love to, but I can't tonight. I'm going to church. I said, this is a Wednesday night in the middle of the week.
What's wrong with you?
You're going to, yeah, you're going to church. What do you do at church on a Wednesday night? Don't you go on Sunday? She said, yeah, I go to church twice on Sunday. And I'm thinking, well, and I asked her, I said, wouldn't you rather go to the movie with me instead of go to church? And she said, no. And I was like, what? And she said, but if you'd like to maybe have a Coke or something afterwards, come to church with me and maybe we can visit afterwards. And so I wanted to see her. So I went, I sat down and, I like this, looking at my watch all the time, waiting for the church service to get over with. Odd church, I'd never been to a Church of Christ before.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember them standing up and saying, let's all sing number 298, just a little talk with Jesus. We all started singing, and I looked around wondering where the piano guy was, because I thought, is he sick tonight or what?
Yeah.
Linda said, don't worry about it. We'll talk about that later. So we started visiting, and I started going to church with her. And I guess in the process of spending time with her, that something sunk in. I started listening, and probably a few months later, I decided it was time for me to commit myself to Christ. So a lot of the things about that was her persistence, her strength of faith. I've always told her that she was a spiritual compass for me. Somebody who is always unfailingly aimed toward Christ and everything. And sometimes that gets irritating because selfishness comes in and you want to say, but on this particular case, let's do it differently. And she's like, nope, always that way. And so it was good. I mean, and during the time that we were dating, we get a little more serious.
Yeah.
And somewhere along the line, you have that talk, about the future, what you want to do.
Yeah.
And I remember we were sitting out in a car in front of her house. We sat out there after dates until her mother flashed the porch light on and off.
The sign. Yeah, there's a sign.
Yeah, the sign, After the second flash, after that, they started coming out and standing on the sidewalk, on the porch, looking at you like,
what are you doing?
You not seeing this?
What's going on?
Yeah, so we were sitting out there. I remember having my arm around her, and she asked me, well, what would you like to do in life? And I told her, well, I have a cousin that works for AT&T, and it's a pretty good job. It's upwardly mobile, And I'm thinking that it would be good to get into mass communications. As long as this world is going, there will always be a need for mass communication. And I just and think about it. This was before cell phones.
Yeah.
When I'm saying that, and I'm thinking this would be a good industry. This would be a good career. And so I said that's kind of what I'm aiming for. What about you? So I, with my arm around her, she says, I've always wanted to be a preacher's wife.
Oh, no. And she just said that
And
to you, huh?
yeah. She said, my grandmother was a one, and she always had people in her home, and she had a lot of folks come and stay, and I'm thinking to myself, how can I get my arm out from around
No,
her right now?
the reverse of the yawn. I don't know how you do the reverse of the yawn. You go, ugh.
Yeah,
Do you do like,
uh,
do you sneeze?
yeah,
I don't know.
like contact or
Oh,
something.
no.
I don't
Oh,
know.
yeah.
I didn't even wear contacts, but
Oh,
I
man.
thought about it. So that struck me, and then the next thing I know, in about I don't know, a few weeks, Roland Hayes, the guy who was leading a preacher school over in Dallas, came and wanted to take me out to eat one day at school, and I felt important because this respected church leader wanted to visit with me, and he took me out to eat, and
Yeah.
I remember biting into a taco, and he said, "Have you ever thought about preaching? Preaching is the greatest work on earth."
Mm.
And I never had thought about it. And that's one of those times when you think about somebody just asking a question, somebody just speaking into your life that changes the trajectory of it.
Yeah.
And that's what happened to me. I started thinking about it, and later on, I went to my parents and I said, "I think I want to preach." And my mother's like, "You what? You want to do what?"
Yeah.
And they were like, "No, don't do that." So
Well,
things progress. I ended up going to preaching school and
yeah.
being ordained, and our prayer was to go
And it,
and preach.
well, and it all started, Shawn, with that lady you said had pretty legs. And
Yeah,
you putting your arm around her, and she said, I always wanted to marry be a preacher's wife. It's kind of interesting.
exactly.
We by the way, I want to say we've had a couple of people get on, like Bob Mullen, Joshua Powell. There's a little thumbs up. He is a dude I went to high school with, and that feels like yesterday, but it's actually been, let's see, this is 2018. It's been almost 20 years since I've seen Joshua Pyle. So that's awesome. So I'm give him a thumbs
Oh
up
man,
also.
well, and I just saw Joshua.
Uh-oh, you broke up for a second, brother.
Oh, I was I said I saw Joshua Koch on the phone, John Koch, and he's in Eastern Uganda.
Is that right?
He's
All right.
listening to us.
Oh,
Yeah, he's
good.
listening to us now.
Good. Well, hey,
So,
it's kind of interesting. You talk about your wife and that she said, no, I want you to come to church. We'll have a Coke afterwards. That is a great way to see if somebody is truly interested and has some good motivations, to see if they not only go with you to church but also stick with you in going to church, and continuing on doing that. That's a great way to find out if that person's meant for you. I'll go ahead and tell you, we have people in our church who there's a boy who brings his fiance, and he started bringing his girlfriend to church, and that's just such a great thing to do. And as you can see, I want y'all to see this man right here. It's because of that relationship with a wonderful woman who really knew her priorities and was very solidly grounded in that the Spirit eventually began to be given to you, and that you began to accept that calling, which is a very important calling, which actually brings us to the second stage I wanted to talk about, Shawn, was you guys ended up being missionaries together. First of all, what were y'all married before you became a missionary?
oh yeah.
Okay, what year were y'all married? I hate to put you on the spot.
Well, I said 40 years this year, so it was 1978.
Oh, that helps. Okay, all right. So 1978, you were married.
Right.
And then you became missionaries what year?
1981.
1981. So
Began in 1981 to 2012.
So
That's
you've been married for
31
about
years.
3 years, and then you guys
2 years
two and a
and
half, something like that.
8 months,
Yeah.
something like that.
So now, how did you end up uh, getting into the mission field?
Well, we after we finished the preaching school there in May of 1980, I think it was the process where a lot of times guys who were kind of ending that type at that time anyway. What you'd do is you'd find a church somewhere where you could work for a year or so to kind of get some practical ministry internship type thing before you were thrown out there to all of the churches, and you had to go find your own church where you might work. So
Yeah.
what happened for us is we got a chance to work with a church, Rochelle Road Church of Christ in Irving, Texas, with Monroe and Jewel Teague. And they were great. That was great. It was so fun working there in Irving. We made a lot of friends. But our plan was to be there for just 1 year. And so Linda and I went into that with the realization that we were going to be only there for a little while. So we prayed. We spent a lot of time saying, Lord, where do you want us to go? Open a door, show us where you want us to go. And during that time, we began taking preaching appointments. I remember at the time that we were invited to work in Weatherford, Texas. We went all the way out to Alamogordo, New Mexico. I was doing regular appointments in Oklahoma and Louisiana and several different places in Texas. And so we were praying about, where do you want us to go? What do you want us to do?
Yeah.
And specifically, open a door. Show us where you want us to go. So it was in the summer of 1980. We went up to Monroe and Ken Vaughn, one of the elders at Irving and Rochelle Road, decided to go up to a preacher's retreat in Madill, Oklahoma. And so we went up there. I went up there with them, and we were in this group, and there was a whole bunch of folks there, probably about 80, I'm guessing about 80 preachers or so that were there. A lot of them for our brotherhood. It was really fun getting a chance to see all those guys, and they were kind of picking on each other. And so as we were there during that meeting, I had heard about the work that Quaker Avenue Church here in Lubbock, Texas was wanting to begin. They'd done some survey work in 1979. Again, they had just gone to do a follow-up trip in 1980, and they had already picked their two missionary families. They had picked Roland and Jesse McLean and Larry and Reba Branham to be the missionaries to go. Well, after that trip,
I'm going to stop you real quick. Natalie, you may know her, hopped on, and she's waving.
Oh yeah,
yeah. And did you
I see her.
That little heart that went up?
Oh yeah.
I think she loves somebody. All right. So anyway.
Oh, that's.
that's his
I'll
daughter.
take her out to eat later.
That's his daughter, just for you guys, so you have context. That's his daughter. All right. Continue on.
Yeah. Well, we're at this meeting, and so what happens is Tom Langford, one of the elders at Quaker Avenue at the time, stood up in this meeting and he said to everyone, as you know, the church at Quaker Avenue is beginning a new mission work in Kenya, and they'd make a couple of trips and everything. However, one of the families has decided not to go. That was Larry and Reba. They were concerned about some of the educational situations for their kids, and so they pulled out. I didn't know that had just happened within a month or so, and all. And so we're looking for somebody else. And I thought to myself, this is a great place for you to make this, because I was sitting on the outside close to a stained glass window in this little chapel area, and I was looking out at all these 80 people, and I thought this would be a great place for them to make that announcement. Surely somebody here might be interested in going. I was actually expectant you know? And he
Mm.
said, so we're looking for somebody who might be willing to stay for 10 years of mission work. We don't want to just do it a little bit. We want to say term. So we're looking for somebody young. And I'm looking around the room and I'm looking at all the white hair and I'm thinking like, not him, not him, not him, not him. And he said, preferably married. Well, I was sitting on the same pew as
Oh,
Scott
no.
Gage and Randy Allen and David Langford at the time. He wasn't married. All of them are sitting on the same pew as me, and I'm thinking, like, not them, you know? And he said, preferably without children. This was the third
Oh,
thing. So
no.
I looked in that room. Out of those 80 guys, I was the only person that fit those three
Did you feel like
qualifications.
everybody turned and looked right at you?
I couldn't tell because the hair on my arms stood up, you know, just that tingly feeling. Just if I was a comic book character, I had spidey senses going off all over
Oh,
my
my.
body. The hair on my neck stood up. I just had this tingling feeling, and I thought to myself, Lord, I ask you to open the door, not hit me with it, you know. And
Did you hear a sigh next to you of David Langford going, "Oh, thank goodness"?
no,
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 no. Okay, all right, all right.
and so I thought, no, no. My thought was, we're gonna be in Texas. We're gonna be a preacher in Texas. That's what
Oh,
I've been praying
wow.
about. That's what I've been wanting to do. And I thought, no, mission work. I've never even thought about mission. Well,
Mm,
where's Kenya? I don't even know where Kenya is.
mm.
And I went and I didn't sleep well that night. And I went and talked to Ken Vaughn, the elder with us from Rochelle, and I said, Ken, what do you think? And he said, well, if you're really seriously thinking about this, then I think you need to talk to Tom Langford and let him know and pursue it. See what happens. You know, walk through the door.
Yeah, yeah.
Walk through the door. If it's an open door, walk through it. And so I didn't sleep well. I went and talked to Tom. I kidded Tom later on that he didn't seem that enthusiastic. I think David and Randy would tell me that he was really excited about that and talked about it on the way home. I wasn't there, so I don't know if that's true or not. You know, later on they can say that, but at first
Oh,
I wasn't
man.
impressed that they were like really excited about me. So
Yeah.
anyway, I went home and I talked to Lyndon. I said, what do you think about going to Kenya? And Linda said, yeah, I wouldn't mind visiting a little bit. I think that'd be good. And I said, no, I mean to live. And she said, Africa? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I'm not going to do that. And I thought, well, that's it right there. We're not going anywhere. If both of us can't do it, we can't. If we're not both in it, then we're not going to do it. And
Absolutely,
then
yeah.
she said, yeah. And so I dropped it. About 2 days later, she came to me and said, I've been thinking about that a lot, and I'm thinking that wasn't the best way to respond. If the Lord is opening a door, then maybe we should consider this. And
Mm.
so we talked to some people, and everybody that we talked to said, try. And so we contacted the church. We sent in a resume. We sent in some letters of recommendation. We went up and preached for them. They made us take psychological tests,
Wow, yeah.
which I thought was unheard of at the time.
Wow.
And they got the results in and thought, yeah, you need to be out of the country, and you need to go somewhere else. And
You're saying you failed the psychological test and they kicked you out?
yeah, well, they thought it'd be good for me to be
Oh.
away from Lubbock, and there were 5 families that they were considering and praying about.
Yeah.
And I don't know if the elders know this or not, but they called me on November 12th, 1980, on my birthday, and said, "You're the one.
Mm.
You guys are the family that we want to choose to go." And so we found that out in November, and in August 22nd, 1981, we were getting on a plane in Lubbock, Texas, to fly to a country that we'd never been to before, knew nothing about.
Mm-hmm.
Had very little training at all about mission work, and agreed to go for 10 years.
Mm.
And
10 years.
we were young. 10 years. Yeah, we were 10 years. And I look back on that and think, what were you thinking? What were you thinking? And for Quaker, what were they thinking?
Yeah.
You know, I'm now one of the elders at Quaker, and I'm thinking, would I want to send somebody over for 10 years? And I'm thinking, like, no, I wouldn't want to do that.
Wow.
I would be happy to send somebody over for a year or two, and then let's see, you know, with an option to extend.
Yeah, bring them back and see how they're doing and all that, and send them.
Yeah,
sure.
I wouldn't do 10 years, make a 10-year commitment. But hey, Lord was working in it, and we didn't stay 10 years. We stayed 31.
Man,
in the process.
Praise God on that. I mean, that is amazing, because you guys, I mean, y'all did so much work, but you could see the Spirit moving throughout that entire story, Shawn, because with your wife, at first she's like, no, you know, and then she comes back a day or two later, and it's obvious that the Spirit had been working on her heart some way. The same woman who said, I want a preacher, now saying, actually.
Well, and she's the one that, said, no, we need to do this.
Mm-hmm.
And I credit her with the idea that after 13 years in Kenya, she was the one that said, we need to go to Uganda. And I said, like, okay, let's do it.
Well,
and one other little thing, God thing in that.
Yeah.
When we were staying in Madill, Oklahoma that summer, the man that was in charge of the camp, his name was Mike Sharrow, and he had about a 5-year-old boy that was running around on the camp there where we were at that same time, and with that young man ended up being Philip Sharrow, one of my co-workers in Bali, back probably 20 years later. So
ended up being what?
It was pretty cool. He ended up being my co-worker in Mbali, Uganda, about 20 years later.
Wow, this kid.
Yeah.
Man. Now, real quick, you said, we got a couple other people. Amanda Rhodes, Holly Baker's hopped on. Excellent. Hey, guys. Great to see you.
And Holly,
right? You got to watch out for Holly, man.
Yeah.
She was, I can't remember Holly. It all pushes together. I know that when I was a TLC the first year, I think she was either one of my TLs, or when I was a parent, a TL, she was one of my daughters. I can't remember. It all just goes together. All I know is, I feel like she's one of my kiddos. I feel like she was one of my, either TLs or one of my daughters. I can't remember. There's Audrey Hendricks. So we got some more people hopping on there. We got a little bit of an audience that you're speaking to, Shawn. I wanted you to clarify for me.
Othina, I see Othina on here. Othina's in Mbali, Uganda also.
Okay, so now I've got some people here that I don't know, so they're not showing up, as in I don't see them, and it must be because I'm not friends with them. So if they'll send me a friend request, then that will fix that problem in the future. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Would you just clarify for me? You 31 years of mission. How many years do you remember being at Kenya, and how many years at Uganda?
Okay, when we went to Kenya in 1981 and stayed there until the summer of '94, and then came home for a furlough, and then moved to Mbali, Uganda in January of '95, and stayed there until July. I think it was July of 2012. Came back to Lubbock, Texas.
Wow!
And then took up a position in Lubbock Christian University.
Wow! Which now brings me to this next question, because guys, when I first asked Shawn, which thanks again for being here with us, but when I first asked Shawn to do this, I mean, he's got so much to talk about. If you never heard Shawn speak at the pulpit, that's a great thing to hear him speak, or just to talk with him over a meal, especially if Linda's there, because she's really nice. And
I agree.
I'm giving you as many moments as you can. You hop in there as that anniversary comes up, and then that gift doesn't have to be so huge for your 40th, right?
Right, exactly.
That's the rule. But you now work at LCU, and in your bio, you said that you work as the appointed director of Mission Link at Lubbock Christian University for their LCU's Institute of Missions. which that sounds awesome. That sounds very prestigious in my brain. It really does. Can you tell us exactly, first of all, what is Mission Link and what is the purpose of Mission Link? I'm getting all these bleeps and bloops and stuff on my thing here. Hold on, let me silencio computer. There we go. All right. So what is Mission Link and what is its purpose?
Okay, well, at Lubbock Christian University, we have a Bible department, and we teach. We have degrees in youth and family ministry, children's ministry, preaching, teaching, things like that, and Christian ministry. But we also have a missions degree, and we also offer a minor in missions as well for people who may want to put education and missions together and consider teaching internationally, or nursing and missions, or things like that. There's a lot of possibilities with that. So we really have a pretty good attendance of people who are interested in missions but want to use maybe a platform of their own education background or skill sets to do missions in another context. A few years ago, and really probably at the push of the president, Tim Perrin, who also came to Lubbock at the same time that I did.
President of LCU.
Correct. President Tim Perrin, he'd been out teaching in Pepperdine, and his parents, both of his parents, were teachers at Les Perrin, and Elaine Perrin were some of the major people of teaching at Lubbock Christian University. I mean, tremendous legacy. And Tim grew up across the street from the campus, and
yeah.
So he comes back and he becomes a president, and he really wanted to push missions a lot. He believed that that's something that we need to do. And in a day and time when our country, the United States, is becoming more and more multicultural, it just seems like preaching and teaching is good, but having a little bit of missions background, a little bit of culture, a little bit of understanding the lenses that we see things through and we read the scriptures through, and becoming a little bit more sensitive about how to bridge those cultural gaps just seems like it would really be a smart thing. So he encouraged us to come up with an institute for missions, and we called it Mission Link. And that sounds kind of funny. It could be missing link, but it's not really. It's Mission Link.
Right.
And the idea really was to connect people together with missions, connect churches together with missions, connect organizations and churches together. The idea of linking everything together was important. We have the example right here in Lubbock, Texas. We've got two different churches, both working in Rwanda, doing mission work, and they both support different missionaries, different works, and they don't talk to each other. They're not even connected together. And you think, how can you do that? Mm-hmm. Why are you doing that? Wouldn't it be smarter if you spent a little bit of time connecting everything on this side so that you can better coordinate your work on the other side?
Right.
So
yeah.
We felt like, okay, Mission Link can come in, and what we wanted to do is to make sure that our missions courses were academically robust. Try to make them emotionally reflective. We wanted to make them spiritually engaging. We wanted to try and get students aware of the different kinds of culture and life and missional service, not just locally, but also anywhere outside the United States. And we felt like that was important. And so one of the first things that we did was we started opening up opportunities for internships in different places.
Yeah.
We work with Students International, for example, that does internships in Central America and a lot of different countries. We talk to people at great cities, which recruits people for Brazil and some of the larger cities in South America. Mm-hmm. Work with CMF that has missions works in over 20, almost 30 different countries around the world. So there's a lot of possibilities, and so trying to link up these different organizations with students who might be interested in different places is key. You know, like right now, there's probably, I know 6 different schools, either international schools or mission schools, that are looking for teachers. And so if we could find the teacher who's interested in a cross-cultural experience, then we could do that. Work with China Now as an organization, an example. China Now will help recruit people who have a bachelor's degree. You don't have to be, it doesn't have to be in English. Bachelor's degree to go to China to work for a year teaching university students conversational English.
Mm-hmm.
Well, China now, what it basically is you raise the money to get you over there. The university will pay you a salary, give you a place to stay, and refund your air ticket when you successfully complete the year. So
Wow.
basically, you can spend a year in China doing this. And I know people who've gone over there and spent 5 years or 7 years teaching conversational English in China. It's a great experience.
Yeah.
Looks good on a resume and gives you some international experience and gives you a chance to see more of the world. There's just all kinds of
Wow.
opportunities out there. And so Mission Link is trying to get it to where students who come on campus have a chance to think broader than just local church.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It would be my dream if every person who came to Lubbock Christian University would not only get a good, solid degree academically, but would also go out with practical experience of an internship somewhere else.
Sure. Yeah.
Uh,
That makes
just
complete sense. And I want to say you're talking about the name Mission Link kind of being a funny. I think that's a perfect name for it because the way I imagine, and you used it in two different ways, Shawn. You talked about the conglomeration of all the little different aspects that work for the mission being linked together, but also from the aspect of being a student who is wanting to hopefully think about where your place is going to be in God's kingdom, and you're wondering what is it that I can do, how is it I can be in missions some way. Then you can basically you have this link into missions. You have this group, this group within LCU Lubbock Christian University called Mission Link that you can get a hold of, and maybe they can somehow minister to you by saying, well, here's where you've been, here's a great way for you to do that. That's kind of what I'm seeing, is you guys kind of minister to that need of hooking people up with a way in which they could be in the mission field. Am I right? You link them.
yes,
That's a great way to look at it. I love the name. Don't change it.
and another thing is next month we have a group. One of the things I've noticed is that we can help them in the classroom and give them the degree in missions and stuff. But after that, we haven't, as a university, haven't always been, hey, let's help walk you from the degree to getting to the mission field.
Yeah.
And so one of the things that we've been doing in the last year or so is meeting with and trying to coach, encourage students who are saying, no, we want to go to the mission field. And so we're helping them with meetings, team formation, talking about fundraising. How do you do that? What are you going to do? And one of the things that I do at my house, I call it Missions Fellowship. I do that 2 times a month through the fall semester. And we'll be having people come in and visit with us. Soon I'm going to be having a young lady who has spent the last 18 months doing fundraising for her own trip to the mission field, working with Wycliffe Bible translators.
Yeah.
And so I want her to talk about what was the experience about, what were the good things, what were the things you would say you need to do when you're doing fundraising. I have another young lady who will be coming in and talking. She just left India, working in India, to come home and take care of an ailing relative, and the struggle of putting missions on hold to be able to take care of family stuff.
Yeah.
That's tough.
Yeah.
That's tough. And I want them to hear that. What would pull you off the mission field? And then I've got a guy later on that'll be coming and spent 19 years in the Philippines, and then started working in Africa. So how does Philippines and Africa compare? How do they contrast? What have you learned from both of those experiences? That's very different, So getting a chance to getting these students to get connected to them, linking them to missionaries who have experience, who've had insights. I want them to know that. And then, of course, in our Mission Link office, as soon as you walk in, there's a big whiteboard, and on it will be internships. You can go to Malindi, Kenya, and it says how many people can go, how much it costs, when are we looking at. Different, just a whole list all the way down the whiteboard of places that we could send somebody.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they're not all international either. Just this last summer, we had 2 LCU students go to the Dallas-Fort Worth area and work with Lifeline chaplaincy program.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And
Yeah, I know them. Yeah.
yeah, and it was excellent. The guy that Michael Pugh, one of the guys who was doing it, he said it was transformative
Mm-hmm.
for him to go in and see people who were struggling with disease and sickness, and especially those who have no faith, no hope, no future hope.
Yeah.
What was it like for them? And it was extremely
Well,
impactful.
and I want everybody to know so that they understand the context of what you're talking about. Lifeline Chaplaincy is a Church of Christ ministry, and what they do is they send chaplains into hospitals or into medical facilities where people they're waiting for treatment. Sometimes they're in the thick of it. Sometimes they've heard really bad news, like you've got so many days to live, or they have a family with that individual, and the family is having to grieve the loss of that individual as they're losing them. The Lifeline chaplaincy that Shawn's talking about sends these guys and women into to minister to these people, to pray with them, which is very important at that time. That ministers to people a great deal. So absolutely, that can be transformative. Which really brings me into another question. And here in a second, just to let everybody know, we're going to stop the video here in a moment, and we're actually going to start another video so that there's 2 videos. The first one is this interview with my man Shawn. The second one, he's going to lead us in a devotional. I want those to be separate so that you can find those easily. So the question really that brings me to Shawn is when we think about missions and stuff like that, there are other ways to do mission work. Sometimes people they get a little scared when they read the news about what's going on in other nations, and so the task of being a missionary really seems daunting. So what is it? You said Lifeline chaplaincy. I mean, what are some other things that maybe people could do that Mission Link helps link people up to?
Oh, good question. Besides right here in Lubbock, there's an organization called Open Door that works with homeless people.
Mm-hmm.
And they agree to take interns if we want to do that. The chaplaincy program here in Lubbock will take students from LCU if we can produce and get them to them. There is an organization in Nashville and also one in the Fort Worth, Dallas area that works among strippers and trying to get them out of that type of a trade. Human Coalition here in Lubbock does the same thing. They're trying to get people out of the sex trafficking thing. This is not for the faint of heart.
No. Yeah.
People who do that. Open Door, as I said, for homeless. There's a lot of organizations. We work closely with Pioneer Bible Translators. In fact, we are going to be starting a minor in linguistics here on LCU campus that would prepare people to do language translation for the Bible around the world.
Wow.
And we would be only one of 3 or 4 universities in the entire United States that would be prepping students for language translation for PBT. And I think that's an excellent thing for us to do. But anything from short term, like Student International do short term to go to Nicaragua or Costa Rica or someplace like that, or longer term, 6 weeks or 12 weeks, from places all around the world. And it could be connected to teaching English. It could be connected to nursing opportunities. It could be missions, theology-based type stuff, or it might be something like working with refugee camps. This last summer, we took students with us, and we spent time in the refugee camps up in Adjumani in the northern part of Uganda. Sudanese who have fled over across the border from South Sudan, probably right now the most displaced people group in the entire world. We were in a place called Maji, Maaji, populations of these camps are larger than Lubbock, Texas.
Oh my goodness
150,000
gracious!
people.
Wow.
And we went in there and we had a chance to visit people. And the neat thing was I met a guy. He's coming out of this makeshift tarpaulin type of church building, and I said, I know this guy. This guy's Joseph, you know. And sure enough, one of the guys that came out was a guy that had done Bible training with us in Sudan back and graduated like 2011. And he ended up being one of the refugees, and he came down to the northern part. Well, he's sitting in this refugee camp, so he starts a church. And so we go into this church, and you know, totally serendipitous, you know, totally amazing that we walk into this refugee camp, and here's a guy that I know that we trained, and he started a church in a refugee camp, had no idea it was there. Had no idea.
Seeds planted, and you don't even understand how they're going to be sown or when they're going to be sown. But God, man, I tell you what, He will bring them up when He wants to, you know. And
that's the thing about missions. You go out and you sow, and you never know. You never know what's going to happen.
You just created a slogan. You go out to sow, and you never know. But God does.
Well, it's true.
But God does. All right. Hey,
I gotta let me tell you just kind of in the same way.
Sure.
One night years ago, I got somebody started beating on my bedroom window. I mean, it was like 2 a.m.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, okay, we're being robbed. But lo and behold, it wasn't. It was a guard, but it wasn't a guard for our house. It was a guard for a house like 12 houses down, somebody that I knew. And I'm thinking, like, what is it? I thought, somebody stealing stuff? He said, no, my wife's in labor. I need to get her to the hospital. We don't have a car. Come help me.
Yeah.
So I'm like, you want me to do what? You know, it's like, get up and use your car and take my pregnant wife down to the hospital. And I'm like, oh man, it's 2 o'clock. I'm losing sleep. You know, this is your problem, not mine. Why are you doing this to me? And so I grudgingly get in the car, drive over, and his wife is ready.
Oh,
she's ready to get. I was afraid she was going to give birth in the car.
Oh no, yeah.
We get her to the hospital, and get her all situated and everything. I'm bleary-eyed and not happy at all. Later on, I find out that he was so thankful for my doing that he asked me, he said, what's your mother's name? I said, Hazel. He said, that's what we'll do. We're going to call this little girl Hazel.
Oh, man.
So it's long enough now that young girl, Hazel, is now married and has her own kids. So I tell my mother, you've got another Hazel over in Africa right now.
Oh, and you never know what that
you never know. You don't know what's going to happen.
With her kids, what they're going to do, and their kids, and what they're going to do, all because you took her to the hospital. You imagine that just in 40 years, 50 years, Shawn, after you've been gone and buried, and you are with God, there's going to be this whole family lineage of people that exist. Have you ever thought about that because of that?
The way I see it is, I think about this whole host of people that were going to come up to Quaker Avenue, and those who have supported this work for a long time, and say, you don't know me, you never met me, you never even knew I existed, but I happen to be here because of your faithfulness in going and making disciples.
Yeah. Praise God, man. I thank you for being here with me to talk about Mission Link and just talk about your mission work. And I can't wait to have you on again to do more, because I know you have some other things you want to talk about. But what we're going to do now, for those of you who just hopped on, hey, Glenn, it's good to see you. Josh, another guy from high school. And we actually had Joseph Mata from high school. I had some dudes that I used to go to high school with a long time ago. That's awesome.
I've got somebody here, Randy Allen. Randy, I still want to talk to you.
He still owes some money.
Yeah, no, I've got some work for him to do.
Oh.
And I want to get him involved in the work over in Bali.
Well, hey, there you go. The Spirit's working right now. What we're gonna do is we're gonna hop off, and we're gonna start a new one, and it's gonna be the devotional video. So thanks, everybody. If you want to hop on over to the devotional here in a second, keep your eyes out. And my man, Shawn, he's going to be leading it. All right. Peace out. Catch you later, guys.
Bye-bye.
God bless.